Should inheritance tax be scrapped altogether? It was meant to just encompass the very rich, the people with the moats and the duck houses and the billiard rooms and the servants' quarters. It was meant to be for them. It was meant to cream off a bit of their money. But it's just grown and grown in scope. So get your calls in on this one now. The number's 0207 862 2222. The Treasury raked in £7.5 billion from inheritance tax in the most recent financial year. Critics say, and they are right, aren't they, that it's no longer confined to just the very rich and wealthy because house prices have gone up and up and up. So people with a quite ordinary, for example, two-bedroom flat in London, let's say, or any of the home counties, might find themselves having to pay, or at least their families when they pass away, inheritance tax. And they're not wealthy, they haven't felt rich, they haven't been rich, they've just worked hard all their lives. With a freeze on the threshold, it's £325,000. And that's been that price since 2009. But now families are falling into this bracket of paying this death tax. So do you agree with it? Maybe you think it's right. Maybe you think it should be scrapped. How do you feel? Why don't we start with you, Siân?
Oh, I think it should be scrapped. I really do, because people have worked all their lives, haven't they? And then suddenly, recently happened to a friend of mine. She had to wait 2 years for it all to be sorted out. She lost half of the cost of the property. And this was because her mum didn't want to sort of admit that she was dying. She was 92. She was amazing. But she never wanted to gift any, which you might be affected now.
7
the
years,
gifting.
I think, isn't it?
Yeah, but the 7 years thing, if you do that, people think if they give something away and then they live seven years, then they won't have to pay, their descendants won't have to pay inheritance tax. But actually, you don't just gift it. You have to show that you are paying rent to live in your own property, and then your children or whoever it is have to show that they're paying tax on the money that you're paying them in rent, because you can't do these kind of pretend things anymore. It all has to be bona fide above board.
But it is your whole amount. I mean, if you had any art, or if you had any jewellery, that's all inside your estate. So you could potentially give some of that, maybe at a period of time earlier.
But
I mean, I'm the same.
Who's got art and jewellery that's well? I've got art.
You have. You must have some
I
nice
haven't got a bead in jewellery or art, nothing like that. It's usually your home, and you don't want.
It is
you have to pay a lot
home,
of
for sure.
the going rate to live in your own house just to say you gifted it. It turns out, not to be worth it to cancel. So you think it wasn't right that this lady wasn't able to just leave her house to her daughter?
Yeah, it's absolutely terrible. And there are other ways of making money. This is perhaps a bad idea and people might not like it. But for instance, we should have a driving test, 50, 60, 70 and 80. And that would create a load of revenue. I've passed my test
I have to invite you back when we're doing a driving test conversation.
Well, because you could make so much money from that, couldn't you? I've been driving for 30 odd years and I haven't taken a test since I was 17.
How would you feel if you had to, though?
Well, I'd be nervous, but I think it'd be a really good idea. And that would create revenue instead of stealing from people.
I think I'm a
who have
fabulous
made
driver.
money.
I'm a girl racer. Get one brown elbow from leaning out the window. I drive with two thumbs and then whirl it around like I love it.
My daughter's just passed and she's had to do loads of different things that I didn't know anything about,
Online tests.
Yeah, new laws.
We're not talking about driving tests.
Sorry.
Difficult guess. She's a difficult guess. She's never been there before. She's taking the whole thing in the wrong direction. Let's go back to Sharron, a more disciplined guess, because she's an Olympian, you see. She'll stick to the subject. Sharron, inheritance tax.
I think I probably agree, actually, for different reasons, predominantly because property prices are so different all over the country. Also, it's not really been index linked for a long time. You mentioned it hasn't gone up since 2009. Property certainly has gone up since 2009. And those that have got lots and lots of money, which is the ones that we're trying to catch a lot of the time, they have systems where they work out how not to pay it. Yeah. So it's always the middle Britain that are paying, those that have worked really hard, save really hard and want to pass that on to their kids. We just seem to hit them over and over again.
And JJ, it's not as if you haven't paid tax on the money while you were alive. I mean, you paid tax on it when you earned it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
If it generated any sort of income, you paid tax on it again. That's twice. Yeah. And then your children have to pay tax on it again. Yeah. And the unearned income thing is, that you pay tax on it every year. Every time there's a bit more money, even if it's threepence, you pay tax and tax and tax. Then you die, they have to pay tax. Is that fair?
It's not fair, but I don't think we should scrap it. I think we should just change the rules. I think we should raise the minimum, so maybe it's £800,000 instead. And I think if you're a spouse or you're a direct child, then you shouldn't have to pay anything. But if you're going to leave your estate to your grandchildren, I think the grandchildren should have to pay something towards that instead.
That's interesting.
You mean if it leaps a generation? Why do you think that?
I just think that's more fair. I think that's fair. And lots of European countries do that. That's how they do it in Spain, Hungary, and it works okay. So I think that's a much fair way of doing it.
I mean, obviously, there are going to be people watching who are way outside the bracket of having to worry about inheritance tax.
Yeah.
And they may be thinking, well, gosh, £325,000, that's such a lot of money and assets. It's huge, and they may be thinking, well, gosh, if you've been sitting on that all your life, you can afford to pay inheritance tax.
Do
you think
5% of the UK pay inheritance tax? That's a tiny amount. Where I'm from, in Dudley, where we're from, most people are not going to be paying inheritance tax. It's not going to make a blind bit of difference to most of the working class people where I'm from. So I think, we should have it. If you're super rich, and for me, if you've got £350,000 coming to you, that is super rich as far as I'm concerned, then you can pay a bit, but I would still raise it up to, say, £700,000, £800,000.
We're one of the few countries that still do it, though. There are a lot of countries around the world that don't do it. It's how does tax benefit us? Does the money coming back into the system where people are spending work better, or is it constantly taxing people that works? I'm not a great believer that constantly taxing people all the time is the answer to a prosperous society.
I mean, it's a difficult one. I think one of the things about inheritance tax is, even if people don't have to pay it, they can emotionally engage with it because they know how much it means to them to be able to leave whatever they've got to their kids or their grandkids or charity or whatever it is. But it's theirs. They worked for it. They earned it. They've got it. They want to decide what to do with it and where it goes.
I think it's also different. I think our generation are stuck right in the middle. I mean, our parents' generation left their money to their children. We are making sure our kids are getting on the housing ladder. And I think that's the slight difference nowadays. We're taking money out. I know I am taking money out of what I have to try and get them onto that housing ladder now.
Rather than later.
That's that bank of mum and dad conversation where some children are massively advantaged because their parents can afford it, even if the parents have to take a real cut in the way they live or even sell the family home to do it. It puts them way up, doesn't it? The sort of food chain in a way. And then those whose parents can't possibly help in any way, they just can't afford to, they're massively disadvantaged. That actually feeds into one of our discussions today about working class kids and whether they should be given internships, rather than middle class kids, to kind of try and even out that gap. But it's a big difference, isn't it, if you can be helped by parents or if you can't?
Yeah, I'm helping my daughter. And as you say, that's quite a new thing, isn't it? To be able to do that is such a privilege.
Equity release.
Yeah. Equity release. So it is a great thing but my parents helped me as well when my dad made me buy my first flat when I was 19.
Did you?
Oh, wow.
Because I was in this massive production of Les Miserables, my first job, and he said, you need to buy a flat, and I was like, are you mad? And he kept going on about it, and I did, and of course that set me up, and so he really wanted me to do this for Bessie, which is what I am doing, and actually it's crippling me right now because of all the interest rates have shot up, so I've really struggled with that. And they're struggling with, she's just recently got married.
I know, congratulations.
I know, isn't that a weird word to say congratulations? Well, I don't understand
Because you're the
it.
mother of the bride.
Yeah.
Congratulations. Of course
Because she's happy and it's successful and it's lovely to see them, isn't it?
Oh, well, I don't, because I was like, why am I being congratulated? Because I'm not doing
Because you raised a
anything.
marriageable,
Yes.
eligible, desirable
Yeah,
daughter,
exactly.
that's why.